I'm Michelle Carlin. I'm the sales manager at Law and Order, and I'm here today with John Cleary, who's the project manager of Aruma. And John has very kindly agreed to give us some time to talk about his extensive experience with Royal Commissions. Thank you for joining me, John.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Now, we've been working with Aruma since December of last year on your readiness and preparation for the Disability Royal Commission. And through talking to you, I've uncovered that you have got extensive experience in doing Royal Commissions. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and your experience?
Yeah, of course. So this Royal Commission that I'm currently working on is my third Royal Commission. Prior to the Disability Royal Commission, I had some brief experience with the Aged Care Royal Commission, where I was a CEO of an aged care facility and had to coordinate records ready for a organisational response. And prior to that, I was heavily involved with the Royal Commission into institutional child sexual abuse, which went from 2013 through to 2017. And that particular Royal Commission, I was heavily involved with preparing an organisational response, as well as assembling a team to do significant research, as well as preparing a personal response and giving oral evidence as well in what turned out to be the longest case study in that Royal Commission.
Yeah, amazing experience. And so you're working with Aruma now as a project manager. Now, I'm guessing that one of the biggest questions people are always going to have is, where do you start? Where do you start with collecting information that you need for a Royal Commission?
Well, I guess that it's a difficult question in some respects, but where I start is really sort of dissecting, I guess, the terms of reference for the Royal Commission. Dissecting that, looking at exactly what the Royal Commission is focused on, and then thinking about your own organisation and where the records are held, whether they're paper-based, whether they're digital, key people in the organisation, and then pulling together a team.
Now, what are some of the learnings that you've taken from your previous experience, and how have you applied them to your work in the Royal Commission so far?
Well, one of the big learnings is that not everyone sees things the same way. So it's important to get to the facts of the matter quickly, understand what records you have in your organisation, and ultimately to back up why you say what you say, because everyone has different recollections, and ultimately you have to prepare yourself for the possibility that you are giving oral evidence and have to back that up with information and fact.
And how do you do that? How do you prioritise the information that you are going to need to look at?
Well, the way I did it was I pulled together a team. So we would workshop what the terms of reference meant, what specific requests meant. We'd engage a lawyer that had particular experience with Royal Commission, and ultimately we then engage counsel with similar experience. Spend lots of time around the table talking through. We would brainstorm where we're going to look for the information and document that methodology, because ultimately we should be expected to be able to tell at a later stage how we went about what we did, what we researched, what we found. So ultimately, the strength is in your methodology.
And we understand that one of the challenges is quite often that you've got information all over the country. You can have many different means of storing information. How do you go about getting that buy-in to collect that information?
Well, I guess it's a little bit different in my current role with Royal Commission, because my previous two roles I was a CEO. So I guess as a CEO, you have to lead from the front. You have to explain the importance of the Royal Commission and also what the Royal Commission team in your organisation is doing, specifically trying to collate records, image records, and prepare responses. And I guess in my current role, it's obviously having the CEO's concurrence as to why we're doing what we're doing. So I guess there has to be a culture of acceptance of what we're doing, that Royal Commissions are a necessary evil, and that we are doing it for the greater good of our sector. So, and it is a reality in organisations that some people won't always see it that way. It may be taking them away from their day-to-day job. They may say, I'll get back to you, and not get back to you. So you're constantly, I guess, trying to push your agenda along in readiness for the Royal Commission.
How would you go about getting that buy-in? It sounds like you're in a great position at the moment where the CEO is very bought in, and obviously in the previous two scenarios, you have been in control of that and able to lead from the front, as you say. How do you go about getting that buy-in? What would your recommendation be to people who are working to try and get this buy-in at the moment?
So running seminars about what Royal Commissions are, we shouldn't assume that staff right through the organisation do understand that, and when they do, it may not always be correct. So just running workshops, question and answer forums, explaining what we think our involvement will be in it, and importantly explaining that it's all of us as a team preparing for the Royal Commission. It's not just the CEO or the chairman that might have to give the evidence. It could be anyone in the organisation. It could be our customers, our clients. It could be other stakeholders and organisations that we deal with. So it's a wide circle of people that are involved, and the more we do in readiness, the better prepared we're going to be for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's obviously really challenging to try and get all of that information, and it really is an enormous amount of information. How do you go about prioritising what you do, what you scan first?
Well, first of all, we work as a team just to make sure that we're all on board with what we need to do, and we will only bother, if you like, people in our organisation once we understand what we're doing. So I guess in simple terms, try not to ask people dumb questions, if you like. Come there informed so that you're focusing and you're saving them time and just getting to the heart of the issues. And along the way, that will build rapport with them, and you'll be seen as a business partner, I guess, in preparing for the commission, so that we're sharing the load together.
What kind of information were you actually requesting? What kind of information do you request from such a broad range of people that you need to engage with?
Incidents and complaints, how we dealt with matters, whether we went to external investigation, how we dealt with ombudsman matters, how we responded to our customers and their families, essentially what we did well, what we didn't do well, what we learnt from it, what we're doing now to grow from the experience. And it's really important to understand, I would stress, what we didn't do so well, so that we can unashamedly point that out to the Commission and reflect on what we learned, what we're now doing better, and also importantly, I guess, be sorry about what we didn't do well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of the considerations or roadblocks that you typically expect when working on a project of this magnitude?
From time to time, you might see cultural resistance. If you don't see that, you might see different approaches throughout large organisations. So there might be regional approaches to archiving that are different from state to state, or you might see long-term staff in one area, whereas another area might have high turnover of staff. So the newer staff aren't going to know as a lot about the history of the organisation and may not be able to help you as much as a long-termer might. So the bigger the organisation, you'll see more variety, and that's a challenge. Also, policies and procedures change over time. So when you're writing up, say, a 7-year period of information for a Royal Commission response, for example, things changed over time. So policies changed, definitions changed, your reporting requirements changed. So just getting an understanding of that and how you categorise that and summarise it.
And how do you go about gaining consistency through that? Because that must be really difficult when someone's left an organisation or you've got very short-term people there. How do you get that continuity that you need to be able to build that picture?
I think the important thing is to have a picture of what you think might have happened there already. So do your research before you come in. Before, when I said try not to ask the dumb questions if you can. So do some research beforehand. Look at files, read documents, come in, I guess, with an understanding of what you see from the documents, and then corroborate that with your interviews with people. Or you may actually get pointed in other directions along the way to look at some other areas. So obviously don't have a closed mind, but do some research beforehand.
Yeah. And so you do all of your research before engaging with anyone when you come into an organisation as a project manager?
Yes, because scoping your work plan based on the Royal Commission terms of reference and based on your networks in the industry is really prep work that you would do as a team before you go out to the field, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And at what point should people start preparing for this?
I would say from day one. It's really important to resource up. It's important to understand your organisation's history, pull it together, document issues that you've highlighted in the terms of reference. For example, terms of complaints and incidents, major matters, investigations, policy changes in key areas, get an understanding of that, and just stay informed with the Royal Commission in terms of the work that they're doing and what they publish on their website. Stay well networked with other people in your industry and obviously compare notes about what they're doing. But don't wait for a request. Resource up now. Engage experts, engage lawyers, engage companies that can help scan, who can more or less assist you in your work so that you're prepared, ready for ultimately you get a request and have a very short turnaround time to respond to it.
Yeah, and we know that that's one of the major challenges that a lot of people experience is that by the time they get a notice to produce, there really is an enormous volume of work that they need to complete. What are usually some of the deadlines that you've experienced on Royal Commissions?
Anything from 1 week through to 4 weeks is typical, and I've sensitised timelines based on everything that needs to happen when you get a request from receiving it to sign off, and sensitise that from a 1 week period through to a 4 week. And the 1 week period looks very, very difficult and challenging. It's almost around the clock that you need to do that. So to prepare for it. So I guess canvass the best case and the worst case, and have a look at what that looks like. Have a look at whether you've got the resources to do it in that time. And as I said before, do as much as you can in preparation. You don't know now exactly what you're going to be asked, but if you understand your organisation and your data, you're in the best possible place to think, yes, I know where that is. I know how I can get my hands on that and summarise it, and it can be quickly put into a statement or a response for the Commission.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, typically, I mean, obviously it depends on the size of the organisation, but typically, how long do you think a process like this would take to really pull together this volume of information?
It really depends on what the organisation was doing already. Royal Commissions, as we know, are only activated because generally there's a problem with that industry. So it's not always the case that organisations were doing these things already, which means there is a little bit of pain in getting things underway and ready. It's forcing change upon us, and that change has a cost to it, but it will bring efficiencies back. And I would like to think that it also, if it's done correctly, can help protect brand and reputation.
You mentioned cost there. Now, that's obviously one of the major challenges for organisations, is that there is a lot of cost involved in undertaking a project like this. You know, how do you go about making sure that you emphasise the importance of it and the ongoing value of having good information governance moving forward outside of the Royal Commission?
Well, I guess I draw on my experience because I've seen over the last almost 10 years with 3 Royal Commissions what's been done well and what's been done not so well. So I guess explaining the importance of spending money now, because ultimately many of these matters may not be an option later when recommendations come out. So it's far easier to be early adopting some of these matters now, in order to say that we're already across this, we understand it, and we're now doing it. It's a far better response than not doing it and being, I guess, compelled to do it later.
Yeah. And what impact do you think the current COVID situation will have on the Disability Royal Commission and future Royal Commissions?
Well, the Disability Royal Commission, it will certainly slow it down because obviously the nature of public hearings simply can't occur during this environment. However, it would be naive to say that it will stop the Royal Commission altogether. There was so much mood for these Royal Commissions being established in the first place that it will simply slow it down rather than bring it to cessation. So what that does is present an opportunity for organisations to get their house in order. Basically, if they hadn't commenced in 2019, 2020 presents an excellent opportunity to get house in order ready for when hearings and requests for information reactivate post-COVID.
One of the things that always needs to be at the back of an organisation's mind when undergoing a process of documenting their data and preparing a response for the Royal Commission is the potential for litigation afterwards. How do you think organisations' approach to managing their response to the Commission can influence that?
I haven't really considered that with the current Royal Commission. I think the first part of your work is to be wholesome and truthful and forensic in your work.
Absolutely.
I don't believe that much is left for legal professional privilege. So as a consequence, and I saw this in the Child Abuse Royal Commission, essentially, if litigation follows, then that's just a flow-on effect from the Royal Commission, bringing justice and redress to survivors is just a flow-on effect, and the more transparent, open, honest an organisation is about that rather than defensive, the better it is for brand and reputation.
And I'm guessing the better prepared they can be for the Royal Commission, the less likely they are to make it look like there's something wrong there or there's something that's being hidden.
Yes, organisations should already know about their problems. You know, they exist on files, and it's important to revisit all of those matters in readiness for the Royal Commission.
What would your top 3 tips be for anyone who might be asked to produce information for a Royal Commission now or in the future?
Well, I think it's important for not just that person, but the organisation to be well resourced, to make sure that the methodology and the research was sound. I would not leave it to the last minute. Obviously, begin now before a request. Begin to understand now. And also back up what you say with evidence. So obviously, if you're referring to a matter about a conversation or a meeting in 2014, for example, what sort of records do you have to prove that? So do you have a file note? Do you have an email exchange? Do you have a diary note? So have all your evidence substantiating what you say ready.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, John?
I think we've covered everything, but I would like to say that Law and Order as a business partner have been outstanding with the preparatory work for us with the current Royal Commission. The work that we're doing now has been invaluable. It is helping us get our information in a categorised way, ready for whatever response we receive. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and it's invaluable to be able to tap into your experience that you have with these Royal Commissions. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Michelle.